I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction to Native Seed Search. Native Seed Search is a nonprofit that stewards traditional seeds of the Greater Southwest, and the organization was started 40 years ago out of a desire to conserve culturally important agricultural seeds, to reconnect the seeds with their communities of origin, and to make the seeds widely available for conservation. The organization spent the first 20 years collecting the seeds and the last 20 stewarding and sharing the seeds. Native Seed Search exists thanks to Indigenous seed keepers and all of the efforts that they put into caring for and keeping these seeds. And today, Native Seed Search focuses on building partnerships with the farmers in these communities, responsibly stewarding the seeds that we have and providing the seeds to the communities and people who have historical and cultural connections to them. We have over 1,800 accessions in the collection and around 100 species, the majority of which are corn, beans, and squash. More than 70% of the seeds are from Native communities, and the collection represents the cultural heritage and farming knowledge of about 50 Indigenous communities, with more than half of the collection from Mexico. We take care when growing these varieties to make sure that the population size is large enough to preserve the genetic diversity and prevent inbreeding, and to grow the varieties far from others, that their isolation distance prevents other varieties from crossing with them. The seeds represent a lot to people, and we understand that, and we take into consideration what the communities think and what they want with the seeds as well. And we're starting to implement things that people request with the seeds. If people want to see more of the seeds, we have our programs that can grant the seeds to schools and places that need them. We'll be going over that a little with Sterling later on, and we'll go into seed saving. Seed saving starts with healthy seeds and healthy plants. Saving seeds from healthy plants means good seeds, and also saving enough seeds is important. We want to see seeds grown from populations that are large enough to prevent inbreeding depression, large enough for variety maintenance, and large enough for genetic preservation. So when we grow out our seeds, we make sure that those things are met, and that we're stewarding these seeds properly. For the seeds, we make sure that they're fully mature, and that means fully dry, fully ripe. Let's see. And if anybody wants any more information on population size and a little bit more growing tips, we really love Seed Savers Exchange. They have this guidebook. We definitely use it at some points. They have a perfect guide also on their website available for printout on the amount of plants you would need for creating fruit, having viable seeds for maintenance, and also genetic preservation. So here's a little bit of our seed bank right here, a conservation center. We've got our seed lab at the bottom where we process all of our seeds and dry the seeds, and we have the seed bank right here. We make sure that the seeds are dry completely before storing them. We'll help out with that process and test them and to make sure that they're dry enough for storage. We meet the requirements for storing seeds, which is that they stay in a dry, dark, cool, and safe place. The goal for storing seeds is to slow their metabolic processes, maximize their longevity, so make sure that they stay asleep in a dormant state. The storage lifespan of the seeds depends on their viability, so how healthy the seeds are at first, and also how dry the seeds are when you store them, and the different species, varieties that they are, and the conditions that they're stored in. For our seed bank, we keep the seeds at 42 degrees, 45 degrees Fahrenheit, at 30% relative humidity in the seed bank you see right here, the cold storage. We also have a 0 degrees freezer for long-term storage. And those are for the seeds that we have from our original collections, to make sure that we have those preserved, as well as collections of healthy populations for future grow outs. So we're thinking long-term, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years into the future. We make sure that those seeds are kept preserved and are ready for us to grow out. In our active collection area, which is the 45 degrees, is all the seeds coming in and out of the seed bank. And here's a little of the things we use for drying the seeds. We use drying racks, we'll use fans. Sometimes for a really wet season, we'll use silica gel. And we have the little MIDI sensors, the hygrometers, thermometers. So here's a little bit more about the seed storage. For us, we store seeds in these plastic jars. It's important that seeds are stored in airtight containers or bags for long-term storage. This keeps out bugs, moisture, and limits the airflow so that the seeds don't progressively age too fast. We use these plastic jars for the safety of the people and the seeds. We don't want the glass shattering in case something happens, someone drops it, or the seeds spill with the glass. So we want to make sure that those conditions are still being met. We'll also use, there we go, our foil bags, and those are the healthy population grow outs that we keep for the future. In our long term, our what we call regen. And we also will use the plastic bags, as it helps with space for a lot of the seeds that we have. And we have to take care to slowly acclimate seeds to room temperature, moving them from a freezer situation, 0 degrees. You don't want to move them out into room temperature conditions, because that could shock the seeds. It can also have a buildup of moisture. So we take a lot of great care in slowly acclimating the seeds. We don't want to shock them or hurt them, so about 8 hours at a time from the freezer to the cold room, and then 8 hours again from the cold room. We'll move into room temperature conditions. And an important part of having a seed bank and a large amount of seeds is keeping track of all that you have, making sure labels and documentation is all taken care of. The important information for having a seed bank or a seed hub or even a seed collection of your own, it's important to have as much information as you can. Here's an example of our intake form and the information we'll write down on the seeds that come in or have come in. We've used these forms to make sure we've got all the information as possible. This ensures the history of the seeds is passed on, that people are able to know where they came from and connect to them, and it also helps to understand the climate that the seeds are acclimated to. The record sheets, the most important info is the crop variety. So when you're taking account of your seeds, it's good to make sure that you have this information down. A lot of people will think when they have their own seeds that they'll remember, but not a lot of the times people will keep that information over time. So you want to make sure you keep down the name, the year that they were grown, the location they were grown, who grew it, the time it was harvested, and additional information you can add that's very helpful would include population number, so how big of maybe a garden bed or field was, the growing methods used. We see that important with a lot of the arid adapted plants. We want to know if they were dry farmed or not. Any descriptions or traits of them that make them specifically unique, like maybe taste you want to write down for watermelons and such, or the color of the beans or its traits when growing, and date that it was either stored or received also from family members or from people. And again, labeling is very important. We make sure that the labels are inside with the seeds as well as outside. On the outside of the container, this makes sure that nothing's lost. It's important to keep track of seeds and know what each is. We print out sticker labels, as you can see on the bottom. And we make sure that for a seed bank and long-term storage, we use ink printer only. Thermal paper labels will fade. I know everybody thinks getting a labeler is a good idea, but the thermal paper will fade over time, and I think many people have seen that with the receipts that they have over time, that they'll fade away, and it's important that none of that happens when you're storing the seeds. So a little bit about our database. Because we have over 2,000 varieties of seeds, we need a way to keep track of that. We use our database we call Curate. It's an SQL database. It's MySQL is what we use. So it's a good look at what it looks like on the left and on the back end where all the data goes in. And we organize the seeds by accessions, and the accessions are a collection of a seed variety from a certain grower. And this is the front side that we have. Information could look very differently for different people on how they write it. Let's see, oh, I didn't put that in. A lot of people that we see that have their seed banks will put them on Excel sheets and just print them out and be writing them line by line, what goes in, what goes out, how much they have left, when the seeds were grown. As long as you're keeping the information, it's a good thing to have. For us, we separate our seeds into lots. We make sure the seeds are separated and not pooled together, so we can keep track of everything and go back if we think something has crossed as well. We don't want that to happen, so we have multiple batches under each accessions, which are the lots, and they each have an ID number. So each one was grown at a different time, place, even though it's the same variety from the same original farmer. We'll keep them separated so we can keep track and also keep growing them out in the future. And also separate them for distribution, so we make sure that we have enough for growing and we have enough for the farmers that want to grow them out, and for also the seed packets that we go out for people. And right here is our public database searching site. It's called ADAPTS. So through this you can be able to search all of the seeds that we have in our collection, and it can be able to show you what we have of, you can search by crop type, all the corn we have, all the beans we have. You can search for what is and isn't available through the, at the moment. You can search by associated cultures or tribes. So say if you wanted to look for what we had in Navajo corn, you can be able to do that. Collection locations, you can search by location, and you can also compare to how similar the conditions are in different areas. So if you want to grow something from northern Arizona and you're in northern New Mexico, you can compare that to see what would grow best in your area, and those are the ranking results. So it's a really neat thing we have, and it can be found on our website. So for stewardship of the seeds, we want to make sure that we're doing the best for them, but also upkeeping and maintaining the seeds to make sure that they're in the best health that they can be. We try to grow out we aim to grow out each accession every 20 years to make sure that the seeds are viable, that they're healthy. And we check their conditions regularly. It's good for people to do that with their seed collections as well, to check them for pests, to check how they're doing. Nobody wants to see any sign of mold or bugs in their stuff. I've definitely had that happen, where I go back to my onions and unfortunately the beetles get to them. We test old seeds for their viability, so we'll go through and do germination testing. We have an example right here of one of our germination tests. We use chemical-free paper. These are specific for germination tests, but any bleach-free paper towel can do. Some people like to just put the seeds in what we remember from school in those little plastic bags and paper towel. That works as well. Germination tests will make sure that the seeds are alive and ready to grow. We have to also test the seeds because we give them out as seed packets, and the USDA requires us to have a minimum germination standard for the seed packets that are sold or are given out. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, thank you.